tonight.
What we found here was there's 14 anomalies.
George Gordon First Nation releases its latest findings in their search for what could be unmarked graves. Also, First Nations University of Canada holds its annual Smudge Walk, honoring residential school survivors and those who didn't return home. Plus, Bout for the Truth. A Saskatoon boxing club is training for a truth and reconciliation fight.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, September 27th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. As we prepare to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, today offered a somber reminder of the legacy of residential schools. George Gordon First Nation released its latest findings in their search for what could be unmarked graves. Alexander Kwan reports.
This is our phase one kind of area that we searched here a couple years ago. What we found here was there's 14 anomalies just behind me here.
It's a quiet space located just behind a house, not far from where a residential school once sat. It's one of the areas on George Gordon First Nation where underground radar was used to search for unmarked graves.
It is with heavy heart today that we announce the findings from phase 2 of the search for unmarked graves.
On Friday afternoon, community leaders released the results from another site. The chief says 8 new anomalies were detected, all on the east side of this stone building, that are consistent with the shape and size of a grave. That's in addition to the 14 reported in 2022. Chief Sean Longman says it's an important but heavy day.
It really brought up a lot of memories of the harmful things that had taken place there, and gives us that drive to dig further and to find the truth, the real truth of the history of Canada.
We need to do further work in some of the areas that we've uncovered just recently. We're going to expand the areas by the old school, as well as take a look at probably some other areas of interest. We had an opportunity to consult and talk with our community members, and they have made some recommendations on where we should continue phase 3.
This community, located 85 kilometers north of Regina, began their search in 2021. For this most recent phase, they received a federal grant. But the work continues, and so they say, does their need for more funding.
We have just recently received the news that the federal government has put a cap on the amount of funding that we can actually get. So we're going to be talking to the federal government and letting them know that we are going to indeed need further support to continue the work in the search. We've only just started.
One residential school survivor says that just days ahead of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, it's important for everyone to know the reality of residential schools. Joe McNabb is convinced those anomalies are indeed the remains of children who never made it home to their parents.
I feel that there's got to be more graves out there, because from the 1800s, there's a lot of trees that grew, there's a lot of shrubs that grow over all these graves, and I believe there has to be more searches there.
George Gordon First Nation says they'll continue their search for unmarked graves and for answers about what happened here all those years ago. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, George Gordon First Nation.
Support is available for anyone affected by residential schools. You can call the 24-hour National Crisis Line for access to emotional and crisis referral services. The number is 1-866-925-4419. On Monday, communities across Canada will mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. In the lead up to this week, a number of organizations have held related events, including First Nations University. Today, the university held its annual Smudge Walk at Regina campus. It honors Indian residential school survivors and the children who never returned home. After a pipe ceremony and the walk, a special initiative was announced between First Nations University and cooperators, the goal of which is to support Indigenous students to help them succeed academically and transition into the workforce. Talking about residential schools can be difficult and uncomfortable, especially for those, and specifically for those, who experienced it. But for one couple, talking has been a big part of their healing journey. Louise Big Eagle explains.
In order to reconcile, the truth needs to be said. as hard as it may be, you're going to hear some powerful truths today.
Tony Stevenson and his wife Marcy give workshops on residential schools. They both speak openly about their experience as children, but it's taken them decades to get to this point, and they couldn't have done it without each other.
When we do the presentation, it's pure truth and honest. You don't get I guess, what would be the best way, a sugar-coated version. When we first started, it was a little bit tough, but it got easier, and yeah, we feel it because we know we're doing something positive.
Tony and Marcy were both students at Kopas Indian Residential School in LeBret. Then, more than 30 years later, they reconnected in 2017. That's when Tony helped Marcy's father with his appeal on his Indian residential school claim.
I was waiting there with Dad, and he walks in and he just looked at me and he's like, Marcy? Little Marcy? Because I was really tiny in school. Yeah. And I just kind of looked and I said, Tony, you know, that was it.
They fell in love and began this healing journey together.
And when I graduated from LeBret, I never looked back. I never talked about it, anything. And then when I met Tony, then it kind of like brought everything up to the surface, that I started then talking to my kids about things. Yeah. So it helped me in that sense that I started to talk about it.
Tony says many First Nations men find it too difficult to talk about being sexually abused. He's learned how to speak about the trauma he experienced at residential school. And he says he's grateful to have his wife by his side through the process and the healing.
You need that support, and it's very good to have, right? It's especially when you're talking, because many times I was about to break down. I'd turn around and look at her, and she would just go, kind of give me the mental telepathy, and kind of ESP thing, and all right, I'm back on track, you know? By far, that's probably the best.
Tony says he hopes to expand and share these presentations across Canada one day. Their goal? To be the voice of those who didn't get a chance to speak. Louise Begigal, CBC News, Regina.
It's billed as the Bout for Truth. A Saturday night boxing contest in Saskatoon will showcase Indigenous athletes and honor residential school survivors. Jeremy Warren has that story.
Rip them hard. 3 days till the big show. Let's go, let's go. Go, big burst, big burst.
It's the final countdown for Coach Gary Hocus Pocus Kopas and his young boxers.
Shoe shine sprint on those toes.
A few more hours in the downtown Saskatoon gym.
His elbow comes up.
Before a special bout inspired by the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
We're featuring a lot of Indigenous athletes. Why? Because they deserve it, and all our athletes, right? And that's part of what we're doing, is just bringing everybody together and celebrating.
A celebration, but also a chance to honor residential school survivors.
I think about it a lot. My mom's grandparents, my cookums, my ushums, and a whole lot of my relatives actually been in there.
17-year-old Sydney John III drives an hour every day from One Arrow First Nation to train at Kopas Boxing Club in Saskatoon.
We teach respect, we teach hard work. You know, a lot of these kids, adults, come from myself, growing up not with a lot of money or just hard times, and that's what boxing is. You gotta dig deep, you're gonna be hurt, you're gonna feel like quitting when you're doing these exercises, and we dig deep and get through it, and that's what life is. So that's what we teach here, and it just rolls into life. Come forward, back them up, liver.
For some young boxers,
all together, do it again.
The club is a refuge.
69.
JC Casacan started boxing 9 months ago.
It's just nice to do something, to get away from the house and all the troubles outside of home, like for other kids, you know. They probably went through some stuff. I've went through some stuff, and the boxing helped me escape from that. It just helps you, make you feel better for yourself when you work out, you know?
If you ain't in the gym every day, like, it's your nose in that ring, and you don't want to break your nose, right? So if you ain't in this gym every day, you gotta stay disciplined to fight.
I've had lots of kids come in here with bad attitudes, low grades, right? They join, they're all tough outside of the gym, and they learn quick that they're not as tough as they think they are, right? So Then they get in here and they start, you know, getting better, learning skills, and then before you know it, they're competing.
It's that discipline that opens up a world of possibilities.
4 straight on your right hand.
Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
2 slip right hand, 2 pull right hand. Beautiful.
Eagle Heart Center in Regina's North Central neighborhood held its 3rd annual Truth and Reconciliation Awareness event this week. Back in 2022, it gathered shoes and set up a memorial wall to honor the children identified in residential school graves. And since then, the event has turned into so much more.
To our surprise, our community of North Central had taken those shoes because they were in need of them. So we decided to continue. So our Caring Nest Aboriginal Head Start program, those are the children that you've seen today. This is our future. This is our legacy. This is the ones that we're raising up as future leaders. So being able to be a part of their growth is just absolutely amazing. There's no words to describe the input that we have on these children's lives.
Every year, this time of year, we have to come together as a community and see where we're at with, where are we with the 94 recommendations? Has it lost momentum? You know, I know it started off with a bang like everything else, but then it just kind of falls to the back burner. And we can't let that happen. I can't see another generation of my people living in poverty still. I mean, I grew up in poverty, and it's still #1 concern with our people of being able to put food on the table, the very basic stuff.
The more older he gets, the more he'll understand of what happened in the past. And whatever happened in the past, it's not gonna go away like fully. It's still gonna have traits, and people are still gonna have trauma from the past and all, so he's gonna see it, but then at least he'll know, he has more knowledge about it instead of asking why.
That's what we have to hope for, is our future generations will have a better life than former ones.
What do you gotta say? You gotta say it.
Maybe he sees a future of reporting?
Do you feel like, are you gonna be a reporter when you get older? Yeah.
This is a show that we want Canadians to really connect with, see themselves reflected in, and their homes, you know, their places that they live reflected in as well. And Saskatchewan is one of those, you know, beautiful provinces that deserves to be shown on the screen.
The city of Bridges was turned into the destination of an extreme obstacle challenge today. Saskatoon, one of the stops on CBC's reality show, Canada's Ultimate Challenge. Contestants traveled the country and teams are put through mental and physical challenges. And in this case, contestants had to propel up the traffic bridge. The 3rd season will air the winter of 2025. We'll be back after the break.
This weather update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Regina, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Welcome back. Our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now, and today was kind of that type of day where you not feeling so good. Maybe some golf would have got it out of your system.
Yeah, nice before the long weekend for some of us. Yeah, it was a gorgeous day across the province today. Temperatures jumping way up into the mid-20s for many of us. In fact, as we look right now on current temperatures across the province, lots of us still there. Yellowgrass, Saskatchewan, our warm spot today, not only in the province but in the country, getting up to 29 degrees, but a little windy if you're trying to escape work on this Friday. Here we had gusts over 70 reported once again in southwestern Saskatchewan today. Still quite breezy as we head into the evening hours here. It's this low pressure system that's been picking up winds a little bit. It's also been bringing some rain and cloud to the north. That moves out overnight tonight, but we could see another shot of that for the far north again tomorrow. High pressure, though, dominates the picture for south and central tomorrow. So a nice sunny day is what we're expecting. That moves out pretty quickly, and it makes way for this low-pressure system that is going to be moving out of Alberta, and that really is our next weather maker because that brings some moderate to possibly some heavy rain through northeastern sections of the province, especially Sunday morning. That'll cloud things over into western Saskatchewan as we head through the day Sunday. All of us cloudy by Sunday evening, possibly some sprinkles here and there in western sections as we get overnight into Monday. This cold front developing overnight Early hours Monday means we'll be getting some showers and maybe even some thunderstorms in far southeastern sections as we get into early Monday morning, and then that clears away as we get into Monday and some sunshine will be back. But for northeastern regions, again, this is kind of a worst case scenario model, and I think for some of us we may be looking upwards of 30 to possibly 40 millimeters again if we see those kind of heavier pockets of rain in that part of the province. Winds are going to pick up a little bit, I think, into Sunday as that system moves by. I think, though, it'll probably be Monday where the gusts are strongest. Even still, Sunday evening, we could start to see those pick up a little bit here and there. Now, in terms of temperature, this system, this warm front from this system is really going to crank up the heat on Sunday, especially through southern Saskatchewan. We are looking at temperatures possibly jumping over the 30-degree mark, well above seasonal, almost 20 degrees above seasonal in some places. And then we get into Monday and the cold front moves through and we are below seasonal, dropping by nearly 20 degrees in some places in a span of 24 hours through south and central. So summer coming to an abrupt end, even though it technically is fall. Until then, as I say, Regina looking for nice conditions. Rider game will be beautiful tomorrow. Monday, some lingering showers before we get into Tuesday and things finally start to clear. That's a little more seasonal for the rest of the week, even though we will see some sunshine. Saskatoon, that drop is not quite as dramatic, but it will still be a little bit windy from time to time. And again, I think you'll get a little bit of that system as we head Sunday night into Monday before things clear out and those overnight temperatures get a little bit closer to the freezing mark, but we're still avoiding those below freezing conditions so far, Sam.
Monday is going to be like a slap of cold air.
Yeah, it's going to feel a little chilly.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Okay, I cannot even. This is adorable. The Warsaw Zoo has a new addition. It's a baby poodoo deer. They're one of the world's smallest deer species. They're native to forests in Chile and Argentina, and they rarely grow more than half a meter tall or weigh more than 35 pounds. And they need a name. They are asking for public suggestions, preferably starting with the letter P. We'll be back after the break. We have new video and details after a man was shot earlier this week by RCMP in Fishing Lake First Nation. These were the final moments of the RCMP chase behind Joseph Desjardins. This video, provided by his family, shows him being chased by Mounties after he stole a van from the school. He was also wanted for a string of robberies in the area. His family has demanded to know what happened. Saskatchewan's Serious Incident Response Team is investigating. It says 2 officers fired their guns, hitting the van. The van continued into a field, stopping after coming into contact with a police cruiser. Desjardins was found unresponsive inside, and paramedics later pronounced him dead. Now, investigators say they did recover a loaded shotgun and an empty bullet casing in the van. In Ottawa, the news of this death is drawing attention.
Indigenous peoples across Canada are still dying at the hands of the police and RCMP. Just this week, a First Nations man from Saskatchewan was killed. And instead of acting, this government wants another study on policing. Studies won't save lives. We need action now.
There have been at least 8 First Nations deaths by police in the past 3 weeks. Desjardins is the 3rd CERT investigation involving an Indigenous person in Saskatchewan in less than a month. A final report is due to the public within 90 days of the investigation's end. The Saskatchewan NDP has made many announcements ahead of the upcoming provincial election. Promises including cutting the fuel tax, investing $1 billion in healthcare, and $2 billion toward education. In conversation with the CBC, leader Carla Beck says those are some of the crucial issues her party has identified. She says they'll be laying out how they plan to finance it over the next number of weeks.
It's not unusual for those costing plans to not come until the end. We've got a lot more that we want to roll out during the writ period for sure.
Beck says she plans to balance the budget by reducing what she calls the mismanagement of the Saskatchewan Party. Tuesday, October 1st is the deadline for the provincial election campaign to be called, with Election Day October 28th. St. Paul's Hospital in Saskatoon has launched a new $10 million campaign to support people who are living with or at risk of developing chronic kidney disease.
What we fail to acknowledge about kidney disease is that there's about 10% of our population is suffering from it, and a large portion of the population don't know they're suffering from it. So by increasing awareness and appreciation of the risks of the disease, we'll catch the disease before it's too late and really resulting in dire healthcare outcomes. So this will mean better quality of life, better utilization of healthcare resources, and better patient outcomes.
The campaign's focusing on 3 priorities: early screening in communities that are high risk, supporting the holistic care services at St. Paul's, and building a kidney health and education center. There will also be a transition program to streamline and expand kidney health care and services at St. Paul's Hospital. And Mr. Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
Well, no surprise here. It's going to be a warm one. We're talking about 11 degrees at midnight in Saskatoon. And we get into tomorrow morning, a little bit of cloud cover, temperature 8 degrees, but look at those nice light winds. Gusting only to 14 kilometers an hour. Quite nice. Regina, we're pretty similar overnight tonight, and we can go even lower in terms of the winds, gusting to 9 as we reach a temperature of 9 degrees tomorrow under those mostly sunny conditions. That means that it's going to be a beautiful afternoon for the Sunday matinee matchup. The Riders versus the Red Blacks. 23 degrees at a 1 o'clock kickoff. The winds nice and light as well. I think the sunshine will be sticking around through the game as well. Might get into the mid-20s or so. So it'll be sunscreen over sweaters tomorrow at the game, Sam.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And before we go this week, a special opportunity for members of the Saskatchewan Roughriders staff, something that has nothing to do with football. They participated in team-building exercises facilitated by the Neo-Utina Friendship Center today. It included a teepee raising competition, beginner Cree language lessons, and powwow dance lessons.
A couple months ago, we presented the riders with an option to have beaded ties as a gift from us to the riders. And that has blossomed into a partnership that has allowed us to come out and teach today about truth and reconciliation and provide education to their staff about what truth and reconciliation means.
It's a lot of fun as well, so it's a bit of a staff team building as well, and through the course of that we're also learning, and that's equally important.
Tomorrow, Rider fans can participate in the same activities in a celebration of Indigenous culture ahead of the game against the Red Blacks. Party in the Park starts at 10 a.m. in Confederation Park, west of the stadium, and kickoff is at 1 o'clock. And that is it for us this week. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or /Saskatoon. You can subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel, or you can download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thank you so much for watching this week. Have a great weekend.